Hi, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Breaking Limits podcast. This is the podcast for parents of children with special needs who are done feeling overwhelmed and are ready to feel empowered. See, I'm your host, Dr. Vivian Pierre, physical therapist, coach, mentor, and parent advocate for families like yours. After working with kids facing the hardest diagnosis and parents carrying the heaviest burdens, what we're looking at is that we created a Breaking Limits podcast series as part of our NeuroPedia Connect group to have a safe space, where real communication, real conversations, real talk happens, and we can truly support you guys. You guys are on the front line and a seat to it all. So right now, who's joining me today is a fierce mama, my warrior parent, Emily Woods, who knows firsthand what it feels like to raise a child with special needs. And today's episode, we're going to really dive into, something that people don't often talk about, right? But it is definitely here, and that is parent burnout. Because have you ever felt like you're doing everything for your child, but slowly losing yourself in the process? Have you ever sat in the car? I know you've done this for sure. You've sat in the car because you're so overwhelmed or just plain tired. You're not alone. In today's episode, we are going to turn around and really dive in to you running on empty, right? And you coming out of the shadows. So, right now, what you're going to learn is that what that burnout really looks like. You'll hear stories. We'll talk about some emotions. We'll talk about maybe some grief that's associated with that. And then we're going to give you guys 3 powerful strategies to begin reversing the burnout and maybe rebuilding that identity and feeling like you guys are not completely burnt out in the process of raising your kids and your family. So, Emily, let's jump right in. For the people who don't really know about you, just give a little bit of background just so that they understand your space of who you are and what's going on with you and your family.
Our special needs journey started in 2017 with my daughter, Georgie. Everybody who knows us knows Georgie. She was born with a rare genetic condition that it hinders a lot of growth and development in all aspects. So.
Okay. And have you, in the avenue of burnout today, and I know burnout isn't always dramatic. I feel like everybody thinks that burnout is like somebody just having a complete breakdown, right?
It leads to that.
It can lead to that, for sure.
I think
but
it does.
Sometimes it looks like you're doing it all, right? Yeah. While, there's maybe a numbness behind, or maybe, you're trying to put that face on, for everybody to know that's, you're good.
You try and carry on in the normal, and you try and keep that normal face, but it's like it slowly creeps in. You're balancing your regular life, and then all of a sudden you add a whole full-time job and another child, and it creeps in. Like you're doing everything you can already for the other kids, and now you have this, or you've had this child and you have other children, and it looks different for every family, but I think as it slowly sets in, you start pushing stuff aside that just is not important anymore, and we lose identity, we lose ourselves, we forget who we were before any of this set in. Our goals change, our that order of what's important changes dramatically, and sometimes it's even in a day it changes. Sometimes it's long-term changes, and that grief that you mentioned sets in. As you have these children, you have an idea of what they're going to grow up to be and what that's going to look like, and here comes that typical word again. Right. It's not. It quickly turns into something else, and you were not prepared for it. You've never seen it, and you're trying to navigate that and maintain some sense of normalcy.
But there's nothing like when we say parents are out here trying to put their best foot forward, their best face forward, right? You know my line that says comparison is the thief of joy. Often, I think this group is comparing themselves to each other, right? They're comparing their kids, and it's hard. It's hard, but it's really not fair to your child or yourself at that point, right?
Right.
And so it's always this standard, right, that we turn around and maybe put out there that, what does the perfect mom looks like? What does the perfect family look like? What does the perfect child look like? And so we're pushing and pushing and pushing because I see the parents come and tell me all the time, hey, I'm tired. I'm tired. Am I supposed to be this tired? Well, I know that parenting is a full-time job all by itself, but ultimately, there is this space that these parents feel, and they feel isolated, like you said. They feel isolated, and it changes, right, from what that looks like. But let's talk about, what do you see as the unspoken signs of burnout? Like, what was there ever? Let's back up. Was there ever a time when you felt like you were like, whew, at wit's end?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but what were those signs? What was that coming up for you?
You don't recognize it until it's past.
Wow.
Like you're in the depths of it, and it's like this game is over, and now I know what led to this, but hindsight's 20/20.
So what
You
were some
can't
of those
change
things
it.
though that were coming up in that space for you?
Well, I think with these children, we have such shifts in our entire life dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
First, you have people that just check out. Friends that were part of your inner circle, that your lives don't mesh anymore. That importance of you checking in with them falls in that priority list. You can't keeping up with a lot of these things that you used to in a life that didn't entail a 9-to-5 job dealing with insurance and doctor appointments and therapy appointments and special feedings and
Yeah, it's definitely a different space,
incorporate,
right?
Yeah, I mean you have to do these things, and all of that falls to the side, and it is ever so slow. Like you're just constantly changing to try and fix this or help that, or we can't do this anymore, and it literally is everything. Like your everything changes.
So how do you move from when you're in that space of burnout, when you're feeling like you have no more energy? Because I know, for me, when I feel super overwhelmed or when I'm completely just feeling like I can't get up, I can't get off that bed, I can't, and there are times that I don't want to, right? And I often look back and it's really that sometimes I'm taking on too much at one time. I don't have outlets to turn around and, get some of that energy out. I have nothing that's filling my cup, right? I'm giving and giving and giving that. And I know as parents, right, of these kids, you guys are giving so much during the day. Like, you guys, when is it that you guys take for yourselves, and when is it, because that's where the guilt comes in. That's where, a lot of that stuff happens. Because the first thing is, the truth number one is that the burnout doesn't always look like people are falling apart,
No.
right? So I've been with you, where people are like, Emily, you seem to have everything together. And I know you laugh at that, whatever, right?
Boy.
Or we've just had a conversation about something that you've just has just taken you for a loop. But people see you and think, hey, Emily's got this together. She's figured out how to make this work, right?
No, I don't. So any of
Right.
you think that, be
Yeah.
aware, I don't.
But there is this unspoken grief. There is this spoken grief that the version of your life, like you were saying, is not the same, and it's gone. And so it's like almost like a roller coaster ride, almost, of you guys doing and going through these different things. But it doesn't make you ungrateful,
No.
right? But I think that's
No. And most, if not all, I can't speak for everyone, most of us would not change it for anything.
right,
It's just our life.
right.
It's so different from the norm. But even with all of the hardship and the burnout and everything that comes with it, at the end of the day, we still have our life and our kids, not just that kid, but most of us have other children. So it's just learning to bend with all of it.
Well, I think the grace, you guys hear me talking about this all the time, because whether or not you have special needs kids, we still have to learn how to give ourselves grace in the space of doing, my 100% today might not be my 100% tomorrow.
For sure.
Right? And when you're managing multiple siblings and multiple things and, and in your family, for anybody, that can be, a trying time to be able to do that, and really trying to understand and hoping. And I think that that's the thing too. I talked about filling our cup, but I think if everybody's cup is also being filled, then there's a different sense of peace. There's a different sense of support. There's a different sense that, everybody's in this together, and then we can move forward. So it's not all on you per se.
Yeah. And I mean, we have obviously 3 older kids that are in the home, and at some point we just said, you know what, the plate is too full, and we can't keep doing this like we thought we could. And we have got to change it. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of regret and upset, and we're going to be fighting things that just aren't necessarily needing to be fought.
Right.
And, I mean, we were pretty dramatic about what we did, but it just, all life encompassing, it just felt like we're just going to cut as many losses as we can right now and get over it. And in that, we will figure out what does work for us.
And how did that bring you peace? Because I know you made a drastic change. You sold your house, you guys moved to an RV, and you guys started living on the RV and just simplified
Everything.
But I think that that's an important thing too. Like, I think that there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise in all our lives. Like, all our lives, let me tell you.
I mean, we kept a little bit of furniture, but they're like kind of sentimental pieces, right? We got rid of clothes. We got rid of toys. I mean, we basically opened our house for a free-for-all, and we in the midst of it, we were like, are we sure we want to do this? Like, there goes all our stuff.
Yeah. But it was you keep saying this. It was like one of the best things that you did at that time.
Days later, it was like, we don't even care.
Right.
We're free of it.
Right. That was one less thing to worry about, one less thing to have to deal with, and now you can focus on the things that were important, which was your kids. You guys do so much stuff. You guys travel now a lot more. You guys are doing all of it.
In that same motion, we felt like nothing was really moving forward for any of us, and that was kind of the showstopper. Like, if no one here is progressing, why are we continuing to do this? If we are having these outbursts and issues with the other kids because they were so little at the time over things that it just didn't matter, like, we've got to be able to give them attention. We've got to be able to give them their childhood and their life, but we can't if we are in the midst of what we've already been doing here. So yeah, in one fell swoop, we sold the house, we sold our stuff, we simplified everything we could. We quit going to doctor appointments. If we weren't getting a prescription, I didn't go. It's that simple. If you're not doing something for me other than recording what I have to say to you, I don't need to be here. Well, I need to pay you.
You know what that says to me too, though? I just thought about this, but that just said to me, you got rid of what I call the shoulds.
Mm-hmm.
You started to be super intentional
Very
rather than somebody said I should do this, somebody said I should do something else, and then that comparison again that puts you in that space to be able to operate kind of in that way. So putting that out, we talked about in the 8-week parent empowerment program, we were talking about I can't remember, maybe it was the first week for sure, but I think we also talked about it in probably the 3rd week, where we talked about creating the vision. Like, what's your vision? And your vision looks very different from somebody else's vision out there, right?
When we were in the midst of all of that, we didn't know what that vision was.
Right.
But we felt like we had too much going on to even come to any conclusions.
Right.
Like, we had to cut everything we could out to even figure that out, because we realized that our dynamic had changed. That means that other things are going to change too, but that doesn't necessarily mean that anything that we had in mind that we just really had our hearts set on was going to change. And so for us, at that point, Brandon took a job with Delta, and we had always wanted to just travel. That was I guess it was more my thing, but he got the bug. So,
but everybody benefited.
But everybody went, okay, yeah.
Right.
We don't have a house to take care of. We can always send the dogs somewhere, and we're gonna go. We're gonna see. We're gonna do. We're gonna experience. And we're not going to let this diagnosis, regardless of what comes with that in the future, we're going to do everything we can right now to live our very best.
Now, you became intentional, but did the grief go away? Like, is
No.
grief still there, right?
I wouldn't say that it's necessarily grief anymore, but there's people that will disagree. Because there's always going to be something that isn't, and I hate saying it like this, but as a new parent, each child, like I said earlier, each child, you have this child and they're born and everything is great and they're going to go to ballet and they're going to go do science fair projects and school and this and that and that and this, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, that might not happen. But as time goes on, you realize that no, it's not going to happen. But is it not going to happen because I say so, or is it not going to happen because somebody said it isn't possible? And that's different.
Right.
So for us, it was like, you know what? No, she's not going to do science fair projects because we're not going to school. But you want to know what we are going to do? We're going to go see every country possible. And if they have museums there that are kids' museums, which always have science stuff, she's going to go do that. However that looks, I don't know. Depends when we get there.
You just change the framework. It doesn't mean that she's not learning. It doesn't mean that, but not in the classic sense of what people may seem or deem as that stuff. Because the truth is, you can love your child and still feel grief. You can still, you can still feel grateful, but that doesn't mean that you don't have overwhelm at times in that space.
I do think that for me specifically, that grief has diminished greatly. Because we've really focused on staying positive, making sure that our mindset is where it should be, and we are doing it our way. And it really doesn't, what the outside world is doing and what we should be doing, that's not ours.
That doesn't factor in. Well, that makes you real. That makes you in the space of operating within your space, right? The fastest space to failure really is operating outside of your space. So you're learning more and you're choosing to spend more time and effort and energy in the space that is going to benefit you, that really gives you more input into where you guys are at and what you can do in that space. And so that's changed your whole outlook. So even though we say grief, and I'll say this, even though Em says like the idea that it's not grief that overwhelms her, and it doesn't mean that she doesn't feel grief, the idea of what is that, like, what's the root cause of that grief that's happening? Because if the root cause of the grief is that you're not, like, you're missing something that somebody else said, that's different. Yeah. Because we can, like I said, create something and move into that space, and that reframes everything for everybody to be able to move forward. Doesn't mean that we're not going to have setbacks, doesn't mean that things aren't going to happen, but you get to own what you feel, and it doesn't make you bad, it doesn't make you anything like that. That's what it does, okay? And burnout isn't just mental, right? Because within that space, I know that there are times that, sleep is going to change, right? Like, I know for me, I can drop asleep at the, I can drop asleep so fast and drop a hat. And you know this. However, staying asleep has also always been a problem for me. And when I'm stressed out or I'm thinking about things or whatever the case is, that becomes even worse. It definitely affects my ability to calm down, slow down. Sometimes my gut health is affected, right? My digestion is affected. And so all of these different things that are piling up on you, that's what's happening. So in the space of that, I feel like burnout, it's mental, yes, but it's also physical.
So I think that when we physically take a toll, it really doesn't matter what the reason is behind that toll in turn makes these other issues. So if we can keep ourselves mentally good, we aren't going to have all of these other issues.
Well, you know me, I'm a proponent of personal development and self-care. You know me. I'm a big proponent of that, understanding yourself a little bit more, understanding what you're going through, understanding those feelings.
But to that, you have to realize that your self-care is not going to be the same as every other mom who goes out for girls' night every week, and she does PTA, and she has her whatever. I don't know what they do. I don't subscribe to it.
What's your self-care look like?
My self-care looks like I get up in the morning before the rest of the family, and I sit and throw the frisbee for the dog, and I have my coffee, and I sit in the sun, barefooted, and I write in a journal. And if I can get through that, we're doing good.
Well, that's
right?
but that's a big
what I
space. But again, you're owning that space, right? And that's a space that you've created for yourself. And I think that that's super important, that you guys out there, like, you have to create your own space. Remember that filling of the cup that we were talking about at the beginning? Like, whatever it is that fills your cup, that's what you need to do. You know, when I was an athlete, big time, you know, for me, I lost myself, my identity a little bit in that space, because that was such a reliever for me. It used to get my frustrations out. I enjoyed it. My endorphins were flowing, all this other stuff. But it's the same thing. The same way how kids want to go out and play, it's the same way how you got to find some time to, quote unquote, play, whatever that looks like. Play for you could look like sitting quietly and reading a book. Play could look like calling a friend and just, you know, laughing about something. You know what I mean? Right. Make sure we're laughing. You know, play could be having a girls' night out. Play. I mean, it could be so many different things, but just that you own that space, right? The other thing that comes up a lot for parents, I think, is the hypervigilance. You feel like you always have to be on. And in that space of always being on, because you're worried about the things that affect your child, right? And I'm saying that, but your entire family, really. But even more so these kids, right, that are a little bit more vulnerable in that space. So whether you're trying to look out for when a meltdown is going to happen, or a seizure, right, or something like that, but that means you're always on, right? So burnout sometimes could look like somebody's super strong and has it all together, but they're not really having it all together. That's all a facade, because your body is going to tell you. You can't hide. You can't hide from your body.
I think that people put that face on because that's what truthfully I think helps get some of us through. You know, fake it till you make it.
Yeah. Well, we all do at some level, but that can be catastrophic if you're not addressing it. If you're not addressing the space. If you're like, listen, I'm just going to like, because I told you, some days I have to admit, some days for me, that's a tough space. And in that tough space of, I can't put the face on anymore. I know that I've taken on too much. I know that I've got to reboot. Like, I've got to spend some time rebooting to turn around. You know this. I'm from Trinidad, guys. I love my beach, right? I need to go to the beach. I need to put my foot in the sand. I need to hear the waves, right? I need to eat some of my Caribbean food.
It's a full body.
It's a full body experience for me, right? I'm so excited. A big shout out to my friend. I'm coming home for a wedding in August here, and I'm super excited about it because I'm going to see everybody and, reconnect, but also get to just be in my space where for me it's such a grounding experience, and I feel recharged in those spaces, right?
You've got to know what that is.
Yeah.
And we are not taught as a society
you gotta take
what
time.
that is.
Yeah, we got to take time to figure it out. And sometimes it takes time to figure out kind of what that looks like for you.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it looks different for everybody,
Actually, we were just talking about that.
What's that?
I told my husband, I'm like, you need to go on this rafting trip.
Oh, that's right.
Because it puts you in the mountains doing, all these mountain things that you love to do. And he's like, well, that's fine, I can do that, but what is it for you? And I said, you're going to think this is really stupid, but I could go get lost in some city somewhere I've never been, and that'll do it for me. Mm-hmm. He's like, that's the most stressful thing for him. He's like, I know, right?
He needs the calm and the quiet in the mountains and just, out in nature there, and you're like, look, let me go and do something new. Let me go and hang out. And
I mean, it doesn't always necessarily mean that it's quiet. It doesn't always mean that it is whatever, some people really need the quiet. They really need the outside. They need, it looks different for everyone.
Right. Well, I want to, I was looking this up and this came up and I really wanted to share this because I thought it was really, really good around what we were talking about today. And they talk about the three R's, right? And it's rest, rituals, and relationship. So if we're getting enough rest, and we're recharging the body, and we're giving it time to really relax and then come back up, right? Breathing and taking our time a little bit because we're just hurried. In this day and age, everything is fast. AI faster, like everything has to be now, instant. Sometimes we need to take a step back, and maybe that's what I get when I go home to Trinidad a little bit and I'm on the beach and I feel like I can just relax a bit and just take a breath, right? So I feel like that's for me.
think you're
where I get
grounding
my
there.
rest. Yeah, for
Because
sure.
you're not here.
I don't ground as much here. I feel the hustle and bustle here. You know me. I'm not a city girl. I like to go in and come out. I like to
why
be
you
able
come
to
to my
like.
house all the time?
I do.
Okay.
I do. Because you're out there. There's
Yeah.
breeze. It's not 100 and. I mean, it's still 105 degrees, but at least I get some, cool breeze blowing, and I can just sit outside and enjoy it. And then the rituals that we do, right? You just talked to us about your morning ritual, kind of what you do. For me, and I'm not great at a morning ritual, guys. I have to tell you, I've been working on this, and I'm getting more aware of it. For me, in the morning when I wake up, I don't get off the bed right away, unless I have to use the restroom. That's a thing at this age. But other than that, it's more like I have to do my visualization, right, of like what I'm creating or what I'm working on or whatever the case is. But the other big thing for me in the morning is doing a little bit of exercise, and that's about 10 minutes. I'm not even like super like high intensity type stuff. I'm doing this program right now for mobility, and I'm loving doing it in the morning when I wake up, right? It just kind of puts me in this space. Yeah, it's helping me wake up, but
Get ready for the
I
day.
don't know, I feel like I've already accomplished something.
Well,
Like
what
in
they
the
say,
day.
make your bed and you feel like you've already accomplished
Right,
something.
right. So I feel like it's already a win. And I'm like, this is going to be a winning day. My brain is already set to charge in that space, So even the journaling, I like to journal at night a little bit more because I got to dump my head out at the end of the day. There's too much stuff
I have
in
to
the...
sleep on it.
You have to sleep on it. I got to dump my brain out a little bit to help me sleep, but that's me. And then the relationships, right? The third one is relationships, right? And I think that you talked about this. Sometimes there's an isolation that happens in this space with parents, right? Because you guys are dealing with so much, and sometimes people on the outside don't understand that.
Well, even in that community, there's disagreements on, for us, when we sold the house and moved out and I remember talking to a mom and she was like, I can't believe that you would do that to Georgia. I was like, do what? I'm doing what I think is very best for her and our family. And it almost was like an argument. I was like, no, I'm not going to argue with you about this. I'm doing it my way. It's my
Your
problem
decision.
if it doesn't work out, But it's proven to be exactly what we needed. So.
Yeah. I'm grateful for the relationship I have. I've built a relationship now with Emily, and it's taught me a lot of different things, and it's opened my eyes to a lot of different things, and I hope that I've done the same for you. But you have to find your people. Yeah. Somebody had said this to me some time ago, and it really was about, it's concentric circles where people lay in your life. And sometimes you have the people that are right close to you that you can talk about anything. And those days, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to put on that face.
You don't even
You
have
know
to
what I
talk
mean?
every day.
Right. You don't
every
even have to have that
6 months.
shower,
This is me today. Here I am. Take me out
Right.
today.
And then there are the people who you can talk about different things, that you're trying to figure out something else, or they may have an expertise in something else, but they don't know everything that's going on or all the hurts and the pains and stuff like that. So there are different people in our lives, and it's okay. And people have come into your life at different seasons, but it's still, as human beings, we want connection, and we want to turn around and do that. So ultimately, we want to really make sure that we're hitting all these three things, right? So let's go again. That's rest, that's rituals, and relationships. Exactly, to be able to do that. So look at the signs. Pay attention to what your body is telling you guys as to where you guys are in the space. Because what we want to do is you want to prevent, before you even get to the point of burnout. Again, you might have a hard day, might have a hard week. But burnout sometimes takes a long time to really recover from. Not just for you, but it impacts everybody around you, right? It takes everybody, a while to kind of get from that space. So if we can really help there, that's the key thing. And I think that gives yourself permission. In the space of giving yourself permission, I feel like that's where the grace is going to come out. You agree?
Yep.
You guys are caregivers, but you guys are still moms, and you're Emily. You know what I mean? Even outside of mom, you're Emily, and you got to take care of Emily to be able to serve yourselves and your kids and your families.
Well,
you know
can
what I
go
mean?
into that, and you can still be the caregiver, and you can still be you, because you've been transformed in that.
Yeah.
And realize that if you can't take that vacation by yourself, take them with you.
Right.
Because everybody's going to enjoy it.
Right.
It might be hard, it might be different, but if you're taking care of you, chances are you're taking care of them.
And the last thing I would say is, man, we gotta laugh.
At everything.
Oh my gosh, we gotta laugh, guys, because let me tell you, sometimes we take things a little too seriously, and even though I feel like we joke about this,
It's my meter.
if we can laugh about it, we're moving forward. We're handling it. We're getting closer to moving forward from it. If we're not laughing, we're like, we're not laughing. I'm not there. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. Right? So, all right, guys. So make sure spend a couple minutes figuring out where you guys are at. What is the things that are really taking you guys out of your own space. Spend some time also maybe journaling, spending your time figuring out what works for you, your quiet time, so you can have that play space. And then let's do the rest, rituals, and relationships to be able to truly create an avenue and create a life where you don't feel all the weight, the whole weight of the whole shoulders, because you have people around you, you have the support to be able to do that.
Write it down.
Write it down.
Check back on it.
Write it down, because sometimes we're not even aware.
Right.
Sometimes, right, of like we are moving forward because we feel stuck. But really, when you write it down, you can go back and say, you know what, this is actually getting better. Like this is good. We're doing, yeah. So guys, as usual, I love it. I love it. Thanks for your insight, man. I mean, I can give certain insights, but I feel like what you're doing and what you're going through and where you guys are at, I hope that you guys saw yourself in maybe some of the things that Emily was saying and answered for yourselves where you guys are at in those different spaces, okay? So thanks for hanging out with Emily and I today on the podcast. You guys know that in this episode, I hope that if it touched you, if it shaped your heart in some form or fashion, that you are not alone. So do me a favor. Share it with other family and friends, and let's get them, to the point where they're not feeling overwhelmed, and you're being supported in the way, and they're being supported in the way that they need to be supported, as well as you. If you haven't already, join us in the NeuroPedia Connect site, and don't be afraid to turn around and reach out to us personally through the comments. We also have a very special free Ask the Doctor and some parent navigation tools that you guys can also check in the comments, as well as join us in our free Facebook group, which is Beyond the Diagnosis, Life Rewritten for Special Needs Families. Okay, so please, as normal, as we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please like, comment, and subscribe to what we have in the comments below. And share with us. Share what you're going through. Share where you guys are in your journey, so we can definitely try to address maybe some concerns that you guys have, or celebrate the wins that you guys are having. And as usual, we are signing off. I'm Dr. Vivian Peer. This
Emily
is
Woods.
And have a good afternoon.